Here we go. Until we're not. So tonight's meditation class is my favorite meditation class. Question and answer. So your questions, we did recently a great Facebook contest where we had a lot of questions submitted. We got well over 100, right? Most of them by one student. But some of them were really good. So the question of the week last week was the winning question. That was Leah's question, and I chose it because it was the one that seemed the most bizarre. No, there were other that were even more bizarre, but this is the one that was the most like a koan because it just confounds logic. And it was, what was the exact wording? Can a question exist without an answer? Yeah, can a question exist without an answer? I like that question, and I don't know the answer. So apparently the answer is yes. But it's a great one to think about. And if you treat it like a koan, which is basically like a Zen riddle, the point of it is to get your brain out of this logical frame of mind, this way that we normally exist in the world with logic and trying to solve problems and figure stuff out. But that is not the state of mind that we want to always exist in. Sometimes you want to exist in a place beyond logic. That's part of what we're doing with meditation. So that being said, I don't want your questions tonight to be koans. If it is a question without an answer, I'm just going to stand here and not say anything, and that's not going to be very interesting for people. So your questions should be something that has some kind of a grounding. I'm not saying that it should not be philosophical, but I'm saying let's make it something that I can actually answer tonight, or at least give my attempt at an answer. And you guys that are watching at home, you can submit your questions in the comments section. So questions? Yes, ma'am.
Tanya has a question.
Already, go.
She says that often she's been experiencing here that she's been getting towards the end of the meditation, or she feels like she's getting to the end of the meditation, and suddenly she goes deep into the meditation. She gets to the still point. And then you ring the bell, and she's like, no!
Yeah, she said all that in her question. Okay. So
she wants to know, is that normal for a beginner to feel that? Or is it something that is like unusual, or just she wants to know a little bit about that and what's going on?
Yeah. So I would say that it is certainly normal to go in and out of deeper and less deep states during meditation. I've definitely had exactly that experience many times, even recently. So I would say in my experience, it's normal even for people with plenty of meditation experience for that to happen. What happens in my experience is I'm having kind of a ho-hum meditation, and I start to recognize, wait a minute, this has got to be close to the end of meditation because we've been sitting here for forever. So now I know we're about to be done. The bell's going to go off. So I better really, grind into this meditation and get the most out of it that I can. And then I have that little bit of time towards the end of meditation that's really deep and nice. And then the bell rings. For me, my alarm goes off at home, and I go, oh man, I was really just getting into it. And the truth of the matter is, if you're meditating and you recognize that you've been thinking, and you think to yourself, I'm not supposed to be thinking, I'm supposed to be meditating, but you've got a long time left, often you don't have the same rigor when you go back into trying to deepen your meditative state, because you think like, well, we got a long time left. So you're either thinking, I got plenty of time, I'll kind of slide, I'll ease back into it, or you're thinking, I don't know if I can handle being that deep for that long. I don't know if I have that much focus and concentration. But when you have just a short amount of time left, combined with the fact that you're already fairly still. Like I've been sitting here still, my breathing is deep, and my mind is more relaxed than when I started. It's kind of easier to dive deeper and stay deep for that amount of time that's left. All that being said, we don't want that to be the case. We want to be able to dive deep early and stay deep the whole time. So, I don't know, there are a few different things that you can do to combat that. One would be to meditate without a timer and just go deep and do it without the intention of stopping at any time. So you could just meditate for whatever X amount of time, that you feel like meditating for. And another way to do it would be to just enter into the meditation right from the beginning with this intention of having it be a very strong, deep meditation where you're not allowing your mind to wander as much, and have this, I almost want to say like intensity to it, but I like the word intention, where you're really going at it from a place of, I'm not messing around tonight, I'm going to do my best meditation right from the beginning, and see how that goes. Other question?
Sifu, our style being a defensive style, this is more of a not just direct physical question, but more metaphorical in what's going on.
Yeah, I'll make it very metaphysical and all that. Great.
When do we, so if we're not threatened ourselves, but we see somebody else being vulnerable and being abused, when is the right time to step in and defend?
So the question is, and this is related to our style of self-defense being a defensive style. We're not aggressive, we don't attack, we wait for the attack to happen. But the question is, I'm seeing somebody else and they're being attacked. Obviously, we're not going to really focus on the physical attack because this is a meditation class and a meditation question, but maybe they're being abused in some other way. But it's kind of a similar idea either way, whether it was a physical or a mental or emotional abuse or whatever. Like, when is it time for me to insert myself and do something about that? Is that your question?
And not just out of defending yourself, you're in no immediate harm.
Yeah, somebody else.
Yeah.
Somebody else is in harm.
Yeah.
Physical, emotional, some kind of harm. What's my responsibility? Or when is it appropriate, or when is it time? So you have two ends of the extreme ways that you could handle this. You're seeing somebody being abused, and you can think to yourself, I'm going to step in and do something about this right now. And you take off your I don't know what you wear to work. It's a suit coat or something. You say, and it's got Superman underneath it, and you're going to jump in and save the day right now. And then you got the other end of this extreme, which is, I don't want to insert myself in this at all. I don't want to stick my nose in this person's business, or I don't want any of that to blow back on me, or whatever it is. And then you got kind of everything in between. But usually your initial thought is either I got to do something about this, or it's I got to stay away from this situation. And it's important to recognize that there's gray area in between. You might watch what's happening and really think about it. Is this a situation where I should be doing something about it? Is this a situation where I'm just going to do more harm than good if I involve myself? Certainly there are situations where you see somebody who is more or less helpless, being abused either physically or emotionally or verbally or however, and you feel very driven. Inspired would be like a light word for it, but you feel like you feel compelled to do something about it. And I'm not saying that you should ignore that. I'm saying that it's a good idea, whether you feel compelled to do something about it or compelled to run away from this situation, or compelled to just keep walking and pretend nothing's going on. It's a good idea to check in with the process that's going on within yourself. Where is that gut response or reaction coming from? And is that where I want to be acting from? Is my gut reaction coming from like fear, like I don't want any of that? Is my gut reaction coming from maybe a response to something I've experienced in the past, and so I feel myself like, I'm not going to let that happen again? And wherever it's coming from, sometimes our gut reaction is the right thing to do, but sometimes it's not. And you could foresee a situation like this where it's very dangerous for you to step in. So what you want to do is recognize, where is this coming from, and is that really what I want to do? And I'm not saying that you just stand there and think about it for a while, because then the moment is past. But maybe give yourself a beat. And there's a great samurai saying, maxim in Hagakure. It goes, any decision should be made within the span of 7 breaths. Now, 7 breaths might be too long given the situation, if it's a real physical, attack or something. But I like the idea of taking at least a couple of breaths and being able to make the decision. The samurai maxim is not every decision should be made within the span of 1 breath, or every decision should be made before you think about what's going to happen. It's within 7 breaths. So sometimes it's going to be appropriate to respond right away, after a beat. Sometimes it's going to be appropriate to respond after 7 breaths. And sometimes after 7 breaths, you will have decided or seen enough to know, I don't need to stick my nose in this situation at all. But a lot of people are gonna like have in their mind like an idea of what this situation is like, and maybe you've seen something in the past that's colored what you're thinking about this now. What I'm suggesting is simply that you don't let pure emotional response or reaction decide for you what you're going to do. You want to take your emotional reaction and then take one step back and ask yourself, is this the right thing to do in this moment? And you might consider several different things quickly, like what's gonna happen to me, what's gonna happen to the other person or people involved in this. Am I about to say the thing that's actually going to have the effect that I want it to have? Or is my quick gut reaction thing that I want to blurt out actually going to make things worse or happen in a way that I don't want them to? And then if you go beyond 7 breaths before you decide what to do, well, now you're in a state of indecisiveness, which is no good. And that could very well be coming from fear. So recognize that. You don't also necessarily want to just start counting your breaths, because you count to 7 breaths and then you haven't thought about what to do, and then you're in trouble. So know how long 7 breaths is by just feeling it, and then be able to make a decision in that much time. Free from fear, free from anger, or whatever the initial response is. Yes, ma'am.
So I lately stopped meditating because I had learned this healing technique from a teacher where it's about feeling and really feeling your body and being present, and it's been done wonders helping me heal.
Mm-hmm.
But the teacher who taught it was like, this is faster than meditation, and I think they're 2 separate things. But it made it then when I meditate, me be like, oh wait, am I out of my body when I'm meditating, and being like paranoid about that. And then when I did sit down to meditate, I would come out of it in a bad mood, feeling angry. So I'm wondering kind of how to reconcile that and get back into meditation, because I love meditating.
Yeah, me too. So this is interesting, because most people who say, I've stopped meditating, they don't stop meditating because they've replaced it with some other kind of similar internal practice. They stop because they just got lazy, or they went on vacation and it's like, I'm on vacation, everything goes out the window. I eat whatever I want, I drink whatever I want, I never meditate, and I sleep for 12 hours a day. And then you come back to it, and it's like all it took was one weekend of debauchery, and you're back in your normal life, but you're unable to have the same kind of discipline that you had. But this is great. First of all, I totally encourage you guys to explore other types of internal work, whether it be energy work, healing work, visualizations, breathing exercises, moving meditation, just saying mantras, whatever it is that you want to do, you should try that stuff. I've tried a ton of different things, and I've found at different times, different things feel better. Oftentimes for me, I notice that it's the novelty of something new that I feel really drawn to it. But I always come back to, and I always have meditated, done what I refer to as meditation with a focus on the breath, without any real break in that practice. But sometimes I like to try other stuff too. If you try something else and you like it, you should do it. If you find that it is effective for you, you should do it. But don't stop meditating. Don't stop doing what we do. And you may be experiencing like, I set aside my regular meditation, I've been doing this other thing, this healing, and now when I come back to meditation, it doesn't feel the same that I remember it feeling, or it doesn't feel as satisfying in some way, shape, or form as the healing exercise that I've been doing. And then, this comparison is what likely is throwing you off and making you feel like less satisfied or less good or grumpy about your meditation practice. And that's all totally normal. I would suggest to you that if you just go back to a regular meditation practice, you don't have to stop doing the other. I'm saying if you go back to your regular meditation and do it for several months, you'll get right back to feeling really good about it and feeling the benefits of that. It's in that comparison, both to the way that it used to be, or to this other thing that I'm doing, or to whatever else, just comparing even moment to moment. It's in that comparison that lies this dissatisfaction or weird or negative feeling about it. Because if you're just sitting and breathing, there's nothing, without adding anything into it, without adding comparison or anything else, there's nothing to feel bad about. And there's nothing to feel good about, as you're just breathing. And then you'll find yourself just kind of naturally settling into this place of calm and peace and bliss. But if you don't allow that to happen because it's all about comparison, then that'll for sure be your experience. But also, let's say that you never took a break from your meditation. Your meditation practice will go like this. This is completely normal and natural. You're going to find sometimes your meditation practice is amazing. It's all you want to do in life. Your meditations are great and you feel energized and awesome about it. And then there will be times where you feel like your meditation sucks, even for months or years at a time. And this is just the way that it's going to go. So you could just be coming into it at this point and then just coming right back out of it, but this will happen. The key is just to be able to do it regularly for a good amount of time. And the first most important thing with meditation practice, whether you're getting back into it or you are just starting for the first time, is consistency. You want to have consistency that is every day. Maybe twice a day, maybe as many times as you want, but a minimum one time a day. The second thing to get into is length. So how long am I meditating for? So try to make it a little bit longer. Your meditations are going to get better that way. And the last thing is depth. So I'm going deeper after I have consistent long meditations, then I'm going to start thinking about going deeper. So just go back to that formula, see how it goes. Ask me again in a couple months after you've been meditating every day. Because if you go away and go back to not meditating every day, you're going to come back and feel the same or worse about it. Other question? Yes, ma'am.
This might be a long question, but I asked you this earlier this week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the type of person that loves pets. I may even prepare 2 years ahead.
Yep.
And I love the moment of the test. It's like you feel very alive and present. But the moment the test is over, I feel completely empty. So how do you ease that transition? Is it because I've basically transformed and so it takes time to adjust to new
Sure, could be that. Okay, so I like this question. I love testing. I love the challenge of the test. I love the moment of the test. And then as soon as the test is over, it's like postpartum depression. It's like I did all this work and now I've never had postpartum depression. I just vaguely have the idea of it. But it's like I did this thing. Wow! And everybody has this experience of during the test working hard, and some people get this elation of that effort, and then at the end there is this type of crash, not necessarily in your emotional state, in your mood, but there is a crash of like my body just goes into, oh my God, now we're done. Finally, it's time for me to just get into this state of bodily repair. And all of my resources are put into that, and that could be what you're experiencing. I could answer this question from a few different ways. I'll at least suggest this, that what I talked about a couple of weeks ago, remember or I don't remember how long ago it was, but we have a tendency to create our emotions, and we oftentimes will take a physical state or a physical experience and make it mean something that gives us an emotion, right? So it's like we're having this experience and I decide this physical crash means, oh, I'm depressed after the test. Because the last time you experienced that, or maybe the first couple of times you experienced that kind of physical crash, was with an emotional or mental crash where something really bad was happening in my life, whatever it was that was bringing me down like that. And so maybe you experience that and you think, this is that same thing. This is a depression. This is like I feel terrible after the test. It could just be a physical thing that you're attaching an emotional or mental state to. Could also be that you get all the way through it and you have a sense of like, well, now what? It's going to be so long until my next test. Or now what? I did all that preparation and I think I could have actually done more. Well, that's your fault. You should have worked harder on the test. Or now what? Like, I was amazing, yet the other people in my test, I don't know if they were as good as me or if they tried as hard as me. Or whatever else, it is that you're experiencing is the now what after. It's all good. It's all supposed to happen. The test exists to challenge us, and you should certainly feel a physical challenge, but you should also feel a mental challenge. The mental challenge happens both within the test and before the test. For a lot of people, that is the bulk of the mental challenge, is like the getting ready for the test and like, oh my God, am I actually going to do this or not? But for some people, it's after the test. So I described to you a student who after a test, somebody who I tested with way back when, after this really hard, long, grueling test, was just like distraught. Like he thought he did not do well at all. He thought that he was terrible on the test. He thought that he didn't deserve the rank. And that's great. That's part of the challenge. And Sifu said to him, great, good thing for you is you don't get to decide if you get the rank or not. I do. And there was a test. I had a rough test once for my second degree Red Sash, where Sifu said to me, basically, you're not taking the second degree Red Sash test. You're a second degree Red Sash. And I was or he said basically, you're not taking the second degree Red Sash test. Your next test is for black. And I was so thrown by it, I didn't even know, am I supposed to be a second degree Red Sash now? Do I line up? Where am I supposed to be? And all the other people who had to take the second degree Red Sash test, what are they going to think about me? And some of them didn't think good thoughts about it. And the whole thing really kind of threw me. And now I'm about to be testing some of my students for second degree Red Sash, and I didn't even take that test. So I'm reliving the whole thing all over again. But the point is that it should challenge you, and if you're feeling challenged, great. It's supposed to happen. It's just like any other area of our practice where you should feel confronted. You should feel confronted by yourself, by other people, by the practice, by the test, and that confrontation is what there is for you to deal with. So whatever there is for you to deal with, that is the test in between the tests. So deal with it. Enjoy it. Because after that passes, you're going to be in a test again. So in meditation, which is what we're going to do now, you should feel confronted. You should feel confronted by your inability to meditate well. You should feel confronted by thoughts that come up or emotional states that come up that you haven't experienced in a while or ever. You should feel confronted by something, and the way that we deal with that in meditation is to just let it go. To just move right back into the next breath. And those things that you're confronted by will be there waiting for you after the meditation. And if you allow yourself to get deeper and into that state of Mushin or close to it, then after meditation you will be better off, you will be better equipped to deal with whatever that confrontation was. But if you spend your meditation, confronted by it the whole time and attached to that thought or state of mind, you're going to exit the meditation more like Kyle, like I feel way worse than I did before I started. So just let it go and then come back and deal with it at the end. Sit comfortably.